Are you having a good time so far? That's what I was looking for. I think while we're here, I have to say what an amazing job the band are doing. Can you give them a big round of applause, please? Brilliant, brilliant job. So you've had your coffee, you've had a bit of sunshine. We also had the drums, the batucada, very loud, much better than a microphone announcement to get you back in the room. So we now move on to the second part of the morning. Now, this one is another panel. It's building otherness in an AI-normalized world. And this one is sponsored by Grain. So thank you to Grain for your support. Now, our moderator, I've realized he literally knows everyone in the room. Probably there might be one person, so 999 people he possibly knows. I will introduce him though. It's Alex Gisbert, who's the Managing Director of XEA Global. Let's bring him up and I'll hand over to Alex. I've got this theme tune for you, I Am a Tiger.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that very kind introduction. Can I ask my panelists to come and join me on stage, please? So, joining us today, we have some spectacular panelists. But first of all, thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Luisa and Pedro, for a spectacular event, and thank you for doing that. My name is Alex Gisbert. I'm the MD of Share Global, which is a consultancy in this space. My 15-second ad is we're about to run the largest audit of wholesalers and bed bank that's ever been created. We're benchmarking the entire industry, and you'll be hearing from us very, very soon. Hopefully you can participate. The function of our panel today in what we called an AI-normalized world and looking for otherness, what I want you guys to walk away around today, and I'll introduce you to the panel in a second, is in a world where everybody has access to the same AI tools. Everyone's got Anthropic, everyone's got OpenAI, everyone's automating their call center, everyone's doing revenue management. There comes a moment that I think Pedro and Luisa are very acutely put together that says, if we've all got the same tools, and we're all selling the same hotels, on the same aircraft, to the same destinations, what's going to make one travel company more valuable than the other, right? So right now, we're all pretty excited about all these cool gadgets and tools that we've all got, but it's all going to level out and normalize, as the ConX theme says. So what I want you guys to walk away with from some of the brightest guys in our industry is some tips and some ideas on where, as leaders of businesses, and most of the people here are leaders of their businesses, to really understand where they should be placing their bets now. And obviously, we're going to walk away, and if they do their job really well, they will have predicted the future completely accurately, guys. So no pressure on you. Joining us today, from left to right, Guido Brecher, who heads up the travel component of Rappi, the largest super app in Latin America, from Argentina, and also founder of Netactica, South America's largest travel software company. Tracy, who's come all the way from Seattle today. Thank you, Tracy. Chief Commercial Officer of Priceline. Maytal, who joins us from Go Global, who's traveled in from Tel Aviv. Chief Revenue Officer of Go Global, part of the Yonolia Group. And Morgan Lesney, who joins us from a bit of Paris, a bit of Madrid. Partner at Cambon Partners, which is Europe's leading investment bank for travel tech and travel software. So Latin America, North America, Tel Aviv, Paris, and Madrid. I think we're super lucky to have you all here. So let's get straight to it. And I think it's interesting, the panel that we've got here. We've got two investor, founder, investment bank profiles, and two incredibly prestigious operators as well. So it'll be good to get different angles from you guys. But let's start with you, Guido. The CEO focus. We're heading towards an AI-normalized world, planning out 3-4 years, big bets time. Where should the CEO focuses be? Is it speed? Is it agility? Is it organizing your data? Raising more capital? Where should the guys start getting ready?
It's a great question. Well, first, I would try to avoid the simpler solution or that many managers are doing, that just implementing AI is just buying some licenses from OpenAI or Claude, and eventually they don't do the changes inside the company, the cultural changes, operational changes that get them into speed. So as you mentioned, tools, everybody are now accessing the same tools. But I would disagree a little bit on that. Like, all of us have a computer, and that doesn't mean that each one of us use the computer in the same way, right? So using these tools gives the differentiating factor. But what I've been seeing is a lot of just buying licenses, but if the legacy structure of the company remains the same, and you give AI tools to your teams, but they don't make decisions themselves. So I would, my first and probably mid-term strategy would be focusing on the organizational changes. This is if I'm an existing company with some legacy structure, right? Not a new startup.
Tracy, Tracy, do you see that the same way? Reorganization or something else?
I agree. I mean, I was just looking at a study done by McKinsey, and it said of all of the companies that are invested in agentic AI today, 45% of them, no offense, but 45% of us will fail by 2027. Those who are heavy AI agentic. So you have, and the reason that failure is happening is not because of the people, it's not because of the tech, it's because of the operational execution and the way that the company is organized around it. So I think that's going to be incredibly, incredibly important. I think the moats as we look forward, if I was a CEO, I would be thinking about what's my moat, what's my 3-year kind of focus. As I think about the moats, it's different. I'm not going to go into capital and supply. I'm going to think more about a moat needs to be how quick you go from signal to iteration. You need to, like, as close as you can compress that window is going to be like a winning strategy as we go forward. Proprietary data, which we've always said for a long time. Real-time demand signals, again, that's about compressing that sort of window. And then I'll say something that's maybe a little bit different, but it's a brand name. It's a brand that can be trusted, it's a brand that's known, and it's a brand that maintains its voice as discovery channels change and as AI makes a lot of brand and marketing noise like redundant. We want to keep that voice. So 3 years from now, I think companies that are going to be successful are going to have fewer priorities. I think they're going to make faster decisions. And I think they're going to have the tightest feedback loops that we've ever seen in tech in terms of that sort of signal to outcome. Brand will maintain, and then that organizational alignment is going to make the difference of who's alive today versus who survives in 3 years from now.
And just to go deeper on that, because I think that's can be scary too, right? But what departments, what roles do you think get reinvented? And I'm not going to say eliminated. I'm going to say reinvented, right? But what adapts fastest?
Well, I think maybe I'll answer it in a different way, which is where do we still need human intervention and what won't adapt as well? Where you have high stakes critical decisions and where you still need someone or something to have accountability for the outcome, that's not going to be an agent tool.
Yeah.
So those might be easy ways to sort of start. And then if you don't need high accountability and ownership for the outcome and it is an incredibly high stakes bet, that's where AI should be leaning in.
Very good. Maytal, you've introduced AI in some of your processes. Are you betting on execution changes, as the guys have mentioned, data? Where do you see the investments for Go Global?
I think it's a combination. I will start with the main competitive advantage that we see as the B2B, the distribution, the trust and relationship we build with clients over the years, the supply, of course, and the data quality layer. And imagine two companies that deploy AI agent in the customer service, and the customers that book non-refundable booking. Company, and add an emergency case. Company A will say non-refundable, not canceled. Company B will evaluate the probability of this booking to be canceled and get refund, and based on the historical data, will decide how much effort they should invest on it. So what I'm saying basically is that AI does not erase those competitive advantage, it amplifies them if you will use it smartly.
That's a good point. Morgan, you meet a lot of CEOs that I suspect are already making bets. What are you hearing in the market? Who do you think are the CEOs who are focusing on the right thing, and what is it they're focusing on?
I think, CEOs, there are CEOs that are afraid, on the one hand, and the other hand, the CEOs that are very optimistic about what AI can help them, how AI can unlock their true potential, especially for small companies to become global. So I see, as we speak, like in June 2026, it's a different environment than it was in January 2026 or November 2025, where we saw the wave, we saw a very big increase of the concerns of investment committees on AI, starting like last summer. I'd say there was a peak in fear at the beginning of 2026, like AI would kill every single software company, no matter what. Now, with 6 months of, I'd say the dust is settling a little bit now. I'd say AI is an opportunity, still a threat, but I'd say really an opportunity for CEOs to increase their productivity, sometimes their margin, their speed of execution. And as far as we're concerned as investment bankers, we see AI, I'd say, I'll left aside the valuation part, which is, we're still in the middle of the, very huge impact of AI on valuations. But I'd say, for us, investment bankers, it's bringing us more ideas. And we're here to provide liquidity to a market. Liquidity meaning helping companies to, meet each other, do partnerships. Sometimes it involves equity. So I think, AI can only have a very good, a very positive point on our business, investment bankers, by bringing more liquidity, more creativity, more ideas.
Well, I think in any moment of turbulence and change, investment bankers are always in the right place at the right time, right? You picked up on a really interesting point, which I think I'd expand to all of you, which is the question of margin, okay? So what we've seen, I think, in the last 4 or 5 years is that there's always some idiot that's willing to sell this at the lower margin than you are at right now, right? And everyone in the industry gets frustrated by the kamikaze competitor that's selling at -1 or 0.5 or whatever. Nothing's more frustrating than that. But looking forward, Morgan, what are you hearing from the companies you're talking to? Do they interpret the introduction and normalization of AI as something that's going to make travel companies be companies that have more margin than today or less margin than today?
I'd say, for me, more margin. That would be a pity to see like some new incumbents coming and try to break the market, kill the market, because it doesn't serve the interest of the purpose of the entire industry. I think, there's one element that we discussed in our previous panel is trust. Okay, if you have trust, if you have a trusted relationship with your clients, it doesn't mean that they will trust you whatever the price you make, but it's likely that you will improve your productivity because you will be able to deliver the same level of service with probably little less cost. I'd say less human cost, maybe some higher infrastructure costs, but less OPEX, I'd say. So in that sense, you may be able to increase slightly your margins. But so do you want to share with your client? Possibly, but to share.
To marketing.
Not to give it away entirely to your clients. So
looking at P&L, marketing, fulfillment, possibly legal, finance, all of that sort of overhead type stuff, will, from a net margin perspective.
Meaning you don't need, you will not increase your gross margin or move your gross margin. So you'll just probably increase your profitability, because what we've seen in the travel industry, if you look at travel industry in technology in particular and other industries, it's less profitable. We make less margin in travel than we do in banking, in finance, in insurance.
Everything.
Why is that, right? Because, I think it's not necessarily a problem of gross margin. Sometimes it's a matter of productivity. I think by, making some improvement in productivity, we'll go back to normalized level of profitability in the world.
Maytal, you live and breathe this every day. With what's coming with AI, with the fact that you've organized more data, is your bet that your gross margin is going to go up, or do you think or you're going to get more competitive? Remember, everyone's got access to the same tools, right? So that's the risk, right?
I think it really depends because the tool is the same, but what we could do in the tool can be totally different. So I follow two principles. The first one is don't automate the existing procedures. Sounds very obvious, but most of the company just automate the existing procedures. So I suggest go back to the problem and then redefine the workflow based on AI capabilities. And the second principle is do what a human cannot do, meaning very complex problem with multi-variables, something which is very hard to hold simultaneously in your head. So I think those margin points are new margin points that could actually help to increase the margin.
Guido, you look at investments as an angel investor regularly. With the things that you're seeing in the business cases that you're being presented, are you seeing businesses with higher margin profiles than the incumbents, or are you seeing new businesses attacking things with lower margins?
Well, I think it's a matter of time. The first order of effect of AI, I think it's increasing margins. The things I've seen are improvement, like quite important improvements, especially in companies that have a lot of resources in technology and customer support. That efficiency improvement has led to increasing of the margins. But I think midterm, that will decrease with everybody having the same tools and opportunities and improving and learning and the feedback of the implementations. Competition will be harder, and I think part of that margin and that value will go back to the customer. So I think eventually in the midterm, we're going to see margins reduce again.
You agree, Tracy? This is a profitability play?
I would think it's a really complicated answer. So I do think the proverbial investment banker will say, I want increased margins, and generally speaking, that's what everyone will want. But if you step back and you think about the factors in play, there's a lot of moving parts that we don't fully know yet. So on one level, in the Q1 2026, US retail stores saw a 393% year-on-year increase of AI-driven visits. So that's where AI came in, and think about the monetization model of that versus some of the other channels, much less, right? And for those visitors that came in, they had a conversion rate that was 42% better than PPC channels. So that's one indication that would make you think, this is amazing, this is going to be fantastic. But the air of caution that we have with that is that AI isn't cheap. It's really not cheap, and it's going to be incredibly expensive as we go forward. And I think there's two things that are in play that are unknowns for us. One unknown is we don't exactly know how the economics and the monetization model of all these channels is going to play out. That's not totally clear. While they're changing and playing, I think that remains to be known. And the second thing that's really shifting is, well, actually maybe three. You've got this sort of acquisition discovery pipeline that's shifting. We don't know how that will play with customer acquisition. Will this sustain? Will this maintain as a big feeder channel? It's very small today, AI channels, but in the future, theoretically, that acquisition and discovery should shift. And then the third piece that I think is changing is your absolute staffing. So a little bit of what you were mentioning is you are now, instead of employing humans, you're theoretically employing agents. And if you think of the impact of that on your P&L, when AI isn't cheap, how do you carry that? How do you think about that? How do you amortize for the fact that you're now employing hundreds and hundreds of agents? And then on the flip side, how are the LLM models going to be monetizing that? So there's just a lot in flux that we don't know. What we do know is where we have implemented it, we are seeing increased margins, you're seeing incredible efficiencies, and where we have implemented it, it's successful and it's driving efficiency. So that's good. But we haven't gotten into the core elements that I think are possible for us to really transform this industry.
Yeah, I think everyone, I hear that from people I've spoken to today is, okay, but what's AI going to cost me in 3 or 4 years' time, right? And that's definitely, you know, we're talking about fear now in peaking in January 2026, but actually we're going to get to the other sides of an AI-normalized debate and then go, I can't get off the drug that is my tokens bill. I can't get off the drug that is what it's cost. And you know, and I haven't built this myself. I'm still reliant on someone else, right? That's definitely something I think that you're right to call out. So how do you defend against that, right? So for you guys, Tracy, looking forward, knowing that that's an unknown, do you hoard capital? Or do you just say it's in scale? Because what everyone in the room has done for the last 20 years is the bigger you are, the better the business, right? Morgan, we've spoken about this loads of times. Just big, big, big. That's where you extract the margin. Does it make sense to scale up now? Or does it make sense to ensure you're really, really profitable and then scale up later when you've got more visibility? How would you see that strategically?
I mean, I think for us, we obviously, as a part of Booking Holdings, we come from a slightly different vantage point on this. So I think obviously capital matters. That's important. So anyone who has capital, that is an advantage. But capital alone is not going to make you win. That's the scale, and I really feel the execution and the operating model is going to be what differentiates the companies. I kind of see companies stuck in sort of two parallels right now as they're adopting AI. They're either stuck in the adoption to impact gap, or they're stuck in the try to transform gap. And they're different gaps, but they're different applications. So you're adopting it, you're using it, but you're not actually seeing ROI. You're just seeing token costs go up. You're getting people to play. And sometimes you need that initially, but ultimately, the ask around getting that impact, getting that outcome, getting that margin is gonna come. And I think companies are stuck there trying to figure that out. And then the try versus transform gap is companies they're trying it, they're using it, they are starting to kind of implement it fully, but they're not really transforming. And I think this hits on what you said about don't apply it just to your existing operating models. Get out of that gap by really transforming how you operate in an industry. So I think that supply depth and breadth are going to continue to be important. I think demand moats are going to continue to be important. I do think brand trust is going to be increasingly important in maintaining that voice. Market reach, all the typical things, marketing and knowing how to market in both traditional and emerging channels is going to be incredibly important as we go forward. For us, it's then compounding those things to have a flywheel scale. That's what we see. So we want to see a little bit of all of those things, but I think net-net, people would look and say, you are a large company, you're capitally strong. I think it's more about, it's not the size, it's what you do with it.
So that's not the quote we're going to take away today. Morgan, the flywheel, the virtuous circle. Is everyone having to reinvent? I mean, you're seeing 5-year business plans. You're selling to a PE, or you're working for or you're doing with an acquisition mandate. Can you believe anything's telling you about what they're going to do with SEO or PPC, and how people must be quite a level of skepticism to how future planning is being made, right?
We can see that in the number of transactions that were completed since the start of this year. It's a fraction of what it used to be. So there's definitely a slowdown. But at the same time, I don't think
this will be a really quiet year?
First half, at least the first half is going to be very quiet. But me personally, I don't see a better moment than this one. It's always been like that, If you want to follow the flow, that's fine. This is your liberty, okay? But I think I've always liked to follow and advise contrarians.
Okay.
People that believe that, it's the worst moment, so it's the best moment. And the world is made of these type of people. We call them entrepreneurs or risk takers, whatever you want. But I think it's a good moment because, the world is not going to collapse in 6 months, 12 months. And, we have to reinvent ourselves. But you don't want to stay stuck where you are, because I think this is the worst decision you can make is like, hold off, do nothing. I'd say, there's opportunities, and there's no long-term monopoly. It doesn't exist. It never existed. People who thought that they could be sitting on their monopoly for 20 years, it's over, because these people can be disrupted in a few months. But at the same time, you can still build very big companies, starting from not very small. I don't believe that startups, that all companies that don't even exist today or might exist in two weeks can disrupt the market. I don't believe in that. I think the market is already full of players that have a role to play in that consolidation. So I don't believe in the new challenger coming from nowhere that you haven't seen coming.
The same question to you, Guido. Business plans, how CEOs talk about SEO, PPC, mobile applications. Do you believe any of the things that you see what they're projected on a go-forward basis? I mean, I think Tracy and Morgan are pretty clear on it's all about a change. I mean, how do you best interpret the future when you see these P&Ls?
You mean the P&Ls in the business plans?
Yeah, when
the
people are
business
coming
plans
to
in general?
you, when people come to you for money and say, this is what we're going to do between now and 2032, right?
Well, I think I'm very excited what's going on right now. I think it's the best moment for entrepreneurs to start up a company. Probably it's not the best moment for VCs, or I think the excitement is more on the founding, and the VCs and investors are trying to figure out where to allocate or how to do it. But that doesn't mean that it's not the best moment to start up a company. Bootstrapping can take you much farther right now than in the past. So not everybody will need probably VC, at least to start the company. I still think capital is very important. You've said customer acquisition costs are still very significant and might go even higher eventually. So, so in that sense, I think it's a great moment to start a company. But you asked me about the P&L and
yeah, because someone comes to you and says, this is my business, it's going to be worth so much, I'm going to do this revenue, this is my multiple, and you're saying, horseshit, this is all going to change.
Yeah, but so in the past, maybe,
no one ever believed in business plans.
Yeah,
So
well,
before AI or...
Oh, you mean like no one's ever believed it anyway?
Well,
right, okay.
It's like reading in a crystal ball in 5 years, so it didn't change a lot.
Yeah, so I don't read the, well, I mean, I get the business plans, but if it's a business plan like we had in the internet bubble times, like in the 2000, maybe it was a deck, and it was just an idea and a wishful thinking. Then you could, you know, with the agile methodology, you could build an MVP. But right now, the business plan can even be can even work in real life. So you could present the business. The business plan could be the business itself. So you don't present a wishful P&L. You present something that you can test already in the market. So that's why I think it's very exciting right now. So I wouldn't trust the P&L that is just on the deck. I would try to see, okay, what have you built? Because you have the tools there, you can pay for them, you can pay for some tokens. And so I don't trust that much in the P&Ls that I see in business plan. I like to see, I don't know if you remember, but Dropbox, you know, that big company, started with a video on how it would work and launch it. So people sign up seeing a video on how your folders would be synced. Well, before that, we had the decks that you will have to trust. Right now, you can see companies built in a month or two that, you know, doesn't mean that they work, but it's easier to capture their essence and to feel if it's worth investing or not.
Maytal, the guys are pretty bullish on automation, founders, startup, et cetera, but I think you touched on this earlier, but let's go a bit deeper on that. When you look at your organization, there's got to be a role for humans, right? And I think you touched on it. What strictly isn't going to automate when you look at your organization? Which bit's AI not going to get to? And ultimately, we're all here for a reason, right? And I think it's very prescient. Do relationships still matter? Will they continue to matter? How do you see that?
Yes. First, yes, the relationship for sure matter a lot. I believe the way we should treat AI is make sure that we are focused our investment. We are not just going with the hype. We learn fast. I mean, don't just scale whatever you start developing, but test it and then learn and improve it. Otherwise, you will scale your mistakes. And deploy AI efficiently and smartly, and not just for saying we deploy AI.
Let's talk about valuations, Morgan. There's a lot of guys in here that are here, and they're going to come up to you at the end of the session and say, hey, Morgan, I've got a really great company. Can we sell it? I got an offer 10 times multiple 2 years ago. I got an offer 12 times multiples. I've got a tech company, and I want to buy one. I want to sell it. What's the reality on valuations? What's really happening?
Two things, you know, there's valuation and transaction. So valuation is something that you can't say, this is my valuation, because you need a buyer or you need a seller. It takes two to tango, as we say. So valuation is very theoretical. So in theory, valuations went down. So we've seen that drop and started last summer. So we basically we're seeing a drop of like, say, take the entire tech layer, probably below, down 25, 30%.
On valuations?
So whether you were valued 30 times or 20 times, say, like 20 times EBITDA, now your valuation is closer to 15, 16, or 14, right? If you were 15, then you're probably closer to 12. But we see that drop is not the same whether for big companies and small companies. We don't see that a massive re-rating for smaller companies. So if you were like worth 10 times, as you said, you're not worth 7 times. You're probably worth 9 times, 8.5 times. So we see a reduction of the drop with the size of the companies. That's one thing. Second is transaction. So you may think that your valuation is this, but who's going to buy you? Today, there's a scarcity of transactions because people don't exactly know how to evaluate companies, and I'd say they're right. In general, they're right, because if you take the position of and point of view of an investor would say, okay, I'm investing at 1. Can I be sure that eventually, if the company works well, I'll be able to sell it for 2, 3, or 4? The thing is that you don't know in 3, 4, 5 years' time what will be the exit multiple. So if you pay, say, 15, can you be sure that in 5 years you will exit at 15 times, and then you will benefit from the growth of the company in the meantime? That you can't say for now. That's what is preventing transactions to happen.
But what's hot? What's really hot? What does everyone go nuts about? Like, what companies does everyone want a piece of right now?
Data. Companies that have proprietary data, things that you can't find on the web, okay? Something that is not replicable. I think, AI can replicate a lot of things easily, but what's your, something that your core business indestructible? What is indestructible? The data you've gathered. So the companies that have data, they don't even know they have that amount of data. They should be looking deeper into that data. This is a gold mine. So, and this is indestructible. So I'd say, for me, what's hot is, tech companies or software companies that have accumulated an enormous amount of data that don't know that they exist, and they can start using it.
Is that something you guys see big investment in, Maytal? Data, is that your future?
We have a lot of data from our own. Our main focus in these terms is actually big local players within the market we wish to expand as part of our global strategy, and also companies with very unique direct contracts. This is our main.
Let's talk about that, because how do you have a global perspective, multi-billion-dollar business. Are you seeing local businesses that have relationships, that are organized? Are they a threat to you guys in the long-term business? Are you seeing local guys outgun you?
I would not say like a threat, but more if we wish to expand in specific market, organically it will take us years.
Yeah.
So probably it's easier just to acquire one big player within a specific market we wish to expand.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Said the investment banker. Guido, what's hot? What's hot? What would you pay too much money for?
Conversational social commerce that works. We have to see that. Infrastructure, AI native infrastructure. I think orchestration, interesting. Orchestration that works. There's a lot of legacy. There's millions of companies that are trying to figure out how to implement solutions and be more efficient. So that's probably less sexy because, I have a B2B hat too. So on the B2B, it's orchestration deep down. And on the B2C, more conversational and social e-commerce platforms that work.
Mm-hmm. You founded a business 12 years ago? No, more.
Yeah, more than 20.
You're only 26 years old, which is really impressive. But if you were walked out of here today, would you start up again now? Would you sit in a room and buy the IKEA furniture and borrow some money from a bank and mortgage your house and do that all again?
Yeah.
Good for you, Tracy.
I would not mortgage my house, no.
Would you buy?
You leave Priceline on a dream, meet up with a friend, and say, right, I'm gonna crush it. Would you do that now?
I would have never done that. I am not the entrepreneur by heart. I have always wanted to work for a company with a large bank account and lots of lawyers. So
Congratulations.
I'm comfortable.
You did it.
But nailed it. But when I think about sort of the companies, if I was starting a company now, sitting where I sit, what do we need, or what can't we do, or what can't we solve? So there's a few things. One, I think clarity is a competitive advantage, and if I were you, I would weaponize that to the best of your ability. Maybe you can't outscale in some ways, but you can absolutely outfocus. And I think that is an advantage that in a big company, there are things you can't focus on. There are things you can't prioritize. And there are things that are too legacy and too deep that to remove that friction, it's just too expensive, and I wouldn't do it. Go there and help solve those things. That's what companies like ours really need. So if I was a new entrant today, absolutely I'd be AI first, and that's where I would hone in and focus.
Maytal, would you say that's it? I know so much about data. Would you set up on your own? And would you recommend anyone do it?
I won't start a startup probably for my own, but if I would, probably I would focus on to try to solve problems that AI creates rather than problems that AI solves.
Yeah. Very good. And Morgan, I think you were pretty clear. Contrarian, go for it. Would you set up on your? Would you set up from scratch, or you?
No, I'd build things that are real, real assets. I think whoever is in hospitality world these days, you must be pretty happy because people in the end will still need a roof and a bed to sleep.
I thought this was phenomenal. I'm taking away. I love that. Give AI to things that human can't do. I love that concept of accountability still matters. I think that's really good. The importance of data, I think, is key, and I like the focus. I like the focus element. I think you guys are absolutely right. Time on a tradition. I'm going to give you some unprompted one words. I'd love a one-word opinion just to finish off, and thank you for your time. We'll go quickly. SEO, Morgan.
Wow, different today.
SEO, Maytal, any opinions?
Not sure.
Dying.
Dying.
Say what?
SEO.
Say what?
Maytal, engineers and developers.
Relevant always.
Morgan?
What did you say?
Relevant always.
Relevant voice, yeah. Yeah. Evolution.
Evolution's good. No longer a snowflake.
No, sorry.
Yeah, I agree. They took all the words. Yeah, still strong.
Guido, travel agents.
Evolution.
You.
Hanging on for dear life.
Totally revolution.
Totally?
Revolution.
Revolution.
We need more humans.
Maytal, fintechs.
Always relevant.
No, very relevant.
Money makers.
Too many.
Too many, nice. Final ones. Guido, AI trip planners.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Dime a dozen.
Dime a dozen.
The future.
Oh.
Graveyard full of...
Graveyard, they're dead. Maytal, otherness.
Always possible.
Humanity.
All about your brand.
In our DNA.
Very good. And finally, guys, ConX.
Thank you, Pedro.
Maytal?
The best event.
My first time. It's been fantastic.
Always a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Very good.